Well, it's day 3 and I've joined up with Steve Saunders on peg 18 on Trelawny Lake. It's a peg that holds some great memories for him, so run me through this one.
Well, this lake is a funny lake, Dave. It's very moody. I've drawn this peg twice. Once I won the section with £17, another time I won the section with £141.
There's some difference in that, isn't there?
There's a big difference in that, and you're never quite sure when you start what weight you're fishing for. So you have to sort of hedge your bets a little bit on this lake.
So the last time you fished it, what happened?
The last time I fished it, I started over in this peg because you can reach with just about 15 metres, and I caught £100 in the first hour.
Wow.
From first cast to the 60th minute, every time in it was a fish, big fish, 5 to 8 pound fish.
Wow.
It was unbelievable. And then it had gone, and then I spent the rest of the day scratching around down the edge, 5 metres, 13 metres for odd bites.
Right. Now I've noticed on your bait tray, unlike I've had the last couple of days with Tommy Pickering and Des Ship, now both anglers there have gone really specifically down a particular type of bait. I mean, Des went down a worm and caster route, Tommy's gone more down a method feeder route. It looks like Fanny Craddock's kitchen. You've got a bit of all sorts here.
Well, this lake, being a bit iffy, you have to hedge your bets a little bit, and so I'm not quite sure what's going to happen.
Right.
So I've bought some bait to fish for roach down the edge. If I don't use it for roach, I'll dump it long for carp down the edge. I've got some pellets for fishing over with, and some hemp corn to fish 5 metres. Now, I've bought several different sizes of pellets. I bought 4 mils, 2 mils and 6 mils. Right. 4 mils I don't expect to use. I've only bought them in case I have to fish shallow over my 13 metre line, if I'm desperate. But again, I'm just hedging my bets a little bit.
So what will be the opening gambit for you?
On this peg, I would start at full length, up the bank, try and catch as much as I can in the first hour. And what happens there tells me what I'm going to have to do for the rest of the match. Right. If it goes under every chuck, it's a simple match. If
we're working with bait limits, right? So, yeah. So are you sort of looking at this, that if that's working as well as, you know, when you went in and caught this big weight, did you sort of more or less get rid of the lines here so you could just use all your bait?
I disregarded them for a long time.
Yeah.
I disregarded those lines because I knew after 20 minutes that I was going to have a hell of a weight very quickly. So I didn't need to worry about those.
What's come out of the last couple of days for me, being with the other lads, is that, you know, it's using this bait limit thing. There's so many fisheries around the country have got limits now, and it's just being careful how you use it. Half
the match here is taking the right bait to your peg, not making a mistake before you started fishing. It's so important these days, and it's becoming more and more important on every lake in the country because they're all introducing bait limits and they're becoming smaller and smaller. So you have to manage your bait through the 5 hours.
Interesting. Okay, that's bait covered. So run me through your tackle then. Tell you what, mate, this wind's getting up a bit today. It could be a bit.
Could be a problem later on.
A bit dodgy, holding 16 metres over there.
Right. Basically, it's a very simple rig to fish over. It's 015 power line main line, a 16 PR28 hook with a band hooked onto it. Float takes very little shot, 2 number 8s. I'm going to look to lift and drop my bait and put it up and down to catch them. I've got a very small kinder pot on. The worst thing you can do in a peg like this is overfeed it at the start. If I put too much bait in, I'll be foul hooking fish one after the other. So I'm going to drop in a very small ball of softened 2 mil pellets, a ball this big, and I expect to catch at least 2 fish off of this first feed. If I don't catch 2 fish off of that first feed, I'll know that I'm probably in for quite a difficult day and I'm going to have to feed a few other places. I'll start there before I feed anywhere else.
I think this is the hard part for people to understand, isn't it? It's where to start, isn't it, sometimes?
It is, yeah.
And it's great, if you go in and you catch one straight away, it's easy, isn't it? Because you go out again and you put some more. It's when you don't get one, isn't it, the problem occurs?
I think the advantage of a lot of us that come here regularly is we know the moods of the lakes. That we come at the same time every year, and basically they fish very similar those times of years, and you get a feeling for how much to feed at certain times of year, basically.
So how's your elastic set up on this one?
Well, I'm fishing a 15 hollow, which is quite tight, because there's some large fish in this lake, up to 10 pound, and they're going to run me through those 2 dougal bushes over there if I'm not careful, so I'm going to have to, hook them and get back pretty quick. Yeah, okay. A bit of bullying, really, on this rig.
So, other rigs?
Other rigs. I've set up a rig to fish at 11.5 metres on the bottom, where I'm going to ping 6 mil pellets. Very few, sort of 3 or 4 at a time every 5 minutes, try and build a line up to fish during the middle of the match, to try and nick an odd fish. I've also got a, that's on, to be fair, that's on a much lighter elastic.
Right.
That's on a 13 hollow, and it's 013 mainline with a smaller hook.
Right. Okay.
On a pull bone again.
Yeah.
Standard kit for here really. For 5 metres, I've set up a Preston Pink float on 015 line, same hook as over, PR28. This line you tend to catch on in the last hour. It's a line you feed all day,
Right.
and only look on it in the last hour.
Okay.
And if you catch there, they're usually very, very big fish.
Okay.
I've set up a float for the edge on 017 main line and a 14 hook.
Straight through.
Straight through.
All
my rigs are straight through.
Interesting, because the previous two lads, they've been talking about little short hook
Yeah,
tails.
I prefer to take as many knots out of my rig as possible. I like to fish straight through for carp. It's something I've always done. I never have a problem with it.
And how about if you're fishing for skimmers and that's what you
I fish with hook lengths.
You would then?
I fish with hook lengths.
Right.
But for carp fishing, I like to fish straight through.
Yeah.
I just feel your rig overall is stronger.
Just taking your weak points out of it. And the elastic on this one is?
It's 17H.
Yeah.
More powerful. All the rushes down the edge, you're going to have to pull them out. You're going to have to bully them to get them away from the edge. I've also set up a classic 10 on a solid 8 elastic to fish for roach.
Yeah.
Now on this lake, when you catch roach, you catch them along the rushes.
Right.
So I'd fish 3 metres. It's a very long line on that for me.
Yes.
I fish 3 metres to hand or 1 section on, loose feeding casters. In the middle of the match, if everything else goes to pot, you can catch up to 40 pounder roach in 2 hours on this lake.
I think the key what's coming out of this is you've just got to cover every eventuality.
I've been on this lake in the last 2 festivals and I've won this section both times, and both times I've caught 8 pounder roach, and they've been the difference between being first and third.
And that's it. And
That's it. You know,
again, talking to Des yesterday about this, it's like the way he started yesterday. He's giving himself a chance of just getting that few pound in front. And I said to him yesterday, he said, how many times you look at the overall results? You know, even if it's £120 and you get like 3 or 4 guys within about £10 of each other, I mean, this is the difference.
A lot of people come to carp lakes and disregard the other species. And there are so many roach in these lakes here. It is frightening. And 40 pounder roach in 2 hours is, how many carp's that?
What,
10 carp. 10 carp, on this lake is 40 pounder roach.
Well, the kit looks interesting, I think.
Chaffinch is interesting.
Let's put it into action then, mate.